it's me, James. Happy Monday to you all. I am filming this Oracle Outlook video reading on Monday, March the 10th, 2025. And so we're just going to jump right in. The deck that I'm going to be using for this week's reading is the Gypsy Witch Oracle. This is my take on the very popular Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing cards. I got into that system, I want to say maybe around 2017. I had been dabbling with Lenormand at that time, and then someone suggested on one of my weekly videos, back then I was doing weekly readings using the Lenormand, and suggested that I try out the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing cards. And I had heard of the system prior to that, but I never picked it up. And so based on that suggestion, I went ahead and did it, and I loved it. Over time, though, I felt the urge to make my own variation of it. And so a shout out to that particular viewer at the time. The viewer is Captain Nolan. So Captain Nolan, if you are still checking out my content, hello. And thank you for turning me on to the Gypsy Witch fortune-telling playing cards. And so with that in mind, we're going to do a line of 5. So let me go ahead and shuffle the cards. And as I shuffle the cards, my intention for these weekly general readings is always looking for the information, the guidance, the advice that's going to be most helpful and beneficial as we move through the upcoming week. This will be the last one. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and cut the deck. I'm going to fan the cards out. And I'm looking for 5 in the fan that are getting my attention. So here are the 5 cards. I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up, and we're going to move that to one side. And now I'm going to line the cards up in the order that they were picked. So that's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alright, and so I consider the Gypsy Witch Oracle to be like, I consider it to be like the Western Lenormand, right? And so the way I read Lenormand is that the middle card for me is the central issue of the focus. So I usually start there, then I work my way out to the outer 2 cards around the middle card, and then the external cards on opposite end of the line. So going with that, let's take a look at the middle card. The middle card is the Rose card. So for me, the Rose card, being a flower, can represent that there's something that's blooming, something that's blossoming, something that's unfolding, because I go with the idea that the flower itself blooms and blossoms. Now in Gypsy Witch Cartomancy, this card can talk about health. So this could be about one's well-being. So when I got my education in psychology, my background is actually in health and wellness psychology. So when I consider health and well-being, I consider all different forms. So we could be talking about physical well-being, emotional well-being, mental well-being, and then of course spiritual well-being, right? So there's that. Now, the fact that the rose is red, so red is a color of passion. So this could be focusing on something that's blooming, blossoming, unfolding regarding one's passion. So what are you passionate about, and how can you move forward in that either area, interest, endeavor, something of that nature. Red roses are also associated with love. So it could be a matter of how are you extending love out for either something that you are passionate about, something that you're passionate about doing, or to other people. So those are some things having to do with the rose. Now the last thing for me that the rose card can suggest is that going with the stem, this can be about how are we handling either prickly or thorny issues. Yeah, because you hold the rose by the stem, and you have to do it carefully if it has thorns in it, right? So those are some of the aspects for rose. Now you'll notice in my deck, if you are a fan of the Gypsy Witch fortune telling playing cards, my deck does not have the captions, because when I picked it up and started reading with it, I went more with the symbolism of the image and less with the captions. So when I made my deck, I just removed the captions. Okay, so now that is the central issue or the focus. So now I'm going to move out to these cards. The way I read it, if this is the issue or the focus, then these would give us more details about that. So let's look at the card on the left. Okay, so then here with the Stork card, the Stork card is a card that represents change and improvement. So now if this is about health, and I'm going to widen that to mean more generally well-being, then there's something about either something changing or improving, and with the change it would be change for the better, right? So that might be, if we go with the idea of physical well-being. If we're talking about maybe emotional or mental well-being, then again this could be about improvement. And the other meaning of the Stork card in this case could be about moving on, because it can suggest a move, like a change in geography, like a geographic location change. And so I'm going to go more metaphorically. If we're talking about emotions or mental well-being, then it could be about moving on from a particular situation, experience, that kind of thing. It could be like moving on in our head, moving on in our heart kind of thing, like moving beyond that, right? And that would allow some improvement or a change for the better, right? But you have to be willing to move on, right? Now that could also be for physical. That could be like a change in geographic location that is blooming, blossoming, unfolding, but also might be a change for the better. It reminds me of when I moved from New Jersey, the state that I was born in and raised in and lived in for some time, and then I moved to South Carolina, where I am now, and that for me, in my head space anyway, was a change for the better. So there's that. But this card is about changes, improvements, and moving on. Okay, so now card on the right. Here we have Clover, and so Clover is a card of opportunity, right? And so now Lenormand is best read in pairs and combinations. So in the Lenormand tradition or system, the rose is not a part of that. The Gypsy Witch cards move beyond that. So if you're familiar with Lenormand, Lenormand is a 36 card system, and the Gypsy Witch Oracle, in my particular case, is a 52 card system. So it combines Lenormand and other divinatory systems like the Whitman fortune cards back in the day. So, but because we have two cards from the Lenormand tradition here on either side, we can pair those for a meaning. So now back to Clover. Clover can represent luck, fortune, and opportunity. Those are the keywords that I usually ascribe to it. And then here we have with Stork, this could be about, changes for the better or improvement with an opportunity, like, or with luck, like a change in luck, a change in fortune, but it would be for the better. Now, if this is about an opportunity, let's say, then this card is about, looking at the opportunity. You may have a small window of time with the opportunity, right? And so it could be a matter of needing to make a decision around it rather quickly, right? And that would be with the rose, something that may be blooming, blossoming, unfolding, and maybe an opportunity. With this in mind, the clover can be about gambling, right? And so it could be about, taking a chance on something or looking at the risks involved with the opportunity. Yeah? So that's what I would say about clover. Now, the external cards. Here we have house, right? So now here, with this combination, house and stork, clearly there's something about, for some people watching this video, a change in house, like a house move, right? So that's the obvious. Now, house can also be about family, right? Or any people that you share living space with, like people who all live under the same roof, right? So that there may be some changes going with that. If you've been having family issues, personal home life issues, there could be a need with these cards, either something changing or needing to make some changes, but the changes and improvements would be for the better. Right, so there is that with the house card. It's about home, family, seeking comfort. This is a card that can represent comfort. So seeking some kind of comfort. And it could be with these two cards, it could be suggesting like maybe if this is about an opportunity being presented down the line, right, going in order of the cards down the line, then there may be, a needing to get out of your comfort zone with these two cards, yeah? So that's what I'm seeing with house and stork. And now the last card at the end of the line. And here we have snake. Okay, so now snake is the challenging card. Out of all the cards, this is probably the most challenging because snake for me can represent entanglements, complications, complexities, right? Getting wrapped up in something, right? Now, it could also be a need to wrap up something, right? Because in the image, the snake is coiled, right? So it's all wrapped up. So this could be a pun for wrapping things up. But it may be some complication or some entanglement or some sort of process to getting something wrapped up, right? So if this is about a thorny issue, maybe surrounding, right? Center card here of these three cards, this is in the center. If this is a thorny issue, a prickly issue, then it may be around an opportunity, right? And how do we handle that opportunity? But the opportunity in and of itself may have some complications, some complexities, right? It may be a long and winding process, right? Now, if we mirror the cards, because this is a Lenormand technique, mirroring the cards, where you look at the cards on opposite end, then if this is family, then there may be something of a complex issue, a complicated issue, something that's long and winding in terms of a process involving family, right? Or if somebody wants to change house, that may be a long and winding process to get to the end, to get it wrapped up. Right, and then that would make sense with rose being about something that is unfolding, blooming, blossoming, right? It may be taking time for it to unfold. That would be the snake card. So now what I do is I take a look at the playing card inserts. So on this side of the line, we have two hearts, right? Two cards from the suit of hearts. So this is about feelings, emotions, the ability to relate to other people. So I read the playing cards based on the systems that I have either curated into my practice or just based on my experience with the cards over time. So the Six of Hearts here on the house card can be about male energy for me. So this could be a male relative, going with the idea that the house is about family. So this could be a male relative or a male friend, but this card can represent masculine energy. Now, if we're talking about feelings and emotions, this card can be about taking emotional responsibility. The six is a number of responsibility, so it's about taking emotional responsibility or feeling responsible. And that would make sense like if you are maybe the head of your household, right, regardless of the makeup of the family involved, if you are the head of your household, then it may be you feeling responsible for the care of that family unit, right? So there is that. Now, the Seven of Hearts. So I love this. We have a progression here, right? So this could be about an increase in feelings, emotions, right? Because we're moving from a 6 to a 7, so there's an increase there. But the 7 is about second chances, right? So if there is a familial issue or an issue with a male person, then it could be about giving that person another chance, because again, this is about second chances or something that happens again, right? It could also be about, with the stork being about improvement, this is a card about emotional improvement, the Seven of Hearts. It's about feeling better or feeling that a situation is improving, because the 7 is a number of improvement, right? So that's on this side. Now, the 9 of Spades in the middle, for me, that is a card that can represent loss or disappointment, right? And that would make sense here if we're talking about giving somebody a second chance, or a relationship improvement of some kind. Then that would make sense with the 9 of Spades. But it could also be about gaining or attaining something on the mental or conscious level, right? Because the 9 for me is a number of gain or attainment, and then the Spades as a suit can represent, in the challenging sense, problems, troubles, obstacles, which is why it's about loss or disappointment, but also about the mind and mental activity and consciousness on the more positive aspect of the suit of Spades, right? Now what's coming to me is that this card, the Spades anyway, as an emblem, can be about digging something up, right? And so I find it interesting that a spade symbol is with the symbol of a flower in terms of the picture, right? And then with the idea about moving, this could be about, like I'm seeing the idea here about something being transplanted, right? Because sometimes we transplant flowers or plants. We repot them, right? So we rehome them, right? So it could be a matter of that. Also playing into the idea of somebody contemplating a house move. If I just go back to the symbols on the cards and not the playing card inserts. All right, and then if we move to this side of the line, I'm noticing here that just like we had 2 from the same suit, we have 2 from the same suit on this side. We have clubs. So clubs for me can represent things having to do with other people. This is the suit that represents the public or something of a social nature, right? And it also represents work, so it can represent work or business, of job, something job related, business related, or something that you are working on, because it can also represent action as a suit, and therefore working on something action oriented and then seeing some progress as a result of that. And then we notice here we move from the 5 of clubs on the clover to the 8 of clubs on the snake card, right? So again, we have increase over here, just like we had increase on this side. So there's a progression. So both sides of the line are showing some sort of progression just because of their increase in numbers, right? So it could be like maybe with some work and effort, you will see some increase. So now, the 5 of clubs, if this is about opportunity, it may center on, with the playing card insert, about a job change. For me, the 5 of clubs can suggest going on a job interview or a change in job or employment, right? For some people, it could be a return to the working world. So let's say on this side of the line, if someone had a baby, let's say, because the store can be about deliveries. And back when I was a kid, we were conditioned to believe, and when I say we, I'm talking about me and my family, but I'm guessing at the time that was more a societal thing too, that we were conditioned to believe that storks delivered babies, yeah? So if somebody had a baby recently, let's just say, and that may be part of the reason why they're returning to the working world, because that is an aspect of the 5 of clubs, right? So there is that, but this card can represent change, change with job, employment. It could just be about being busy or working with your hands, being hands-on. So the opportunity may be something you have to actively engage in or with. And then the Eight of Clubs is the work or business card. It could be conversations or communications revolving around work or employment, like people asking the question like, what do you do for a living, right? And so again, that would make sense if somebody's interviewing for a job or work, right? There would be discussion or conversation around that. In the working sense, it can be about meetings and conferences, things of that nature, right? So there is that. Now, if we go with the snake, in addition to that, then the long and winding process or complication could be maybe a number of interviews, right? Not just interviewing maybe one time or with one person, but maybe a round of interviews, right? And then, of course, going with what's going on in the work world these days, on the national level, then again, there could be more complications for people around work or employment, right? And then the snake card would represent somebody who has a forked tongue, because I go back to my Christian days when I was younger, and the snake was always somebody who was a deceiver and didn't necessarily tell the truth. So there may be something about that. Or somebody who has presented something and not have been honest or forthcoming. There could be consequences around that, right? So the snake is a card of consequences as well, right? So if you're considering an opportunity, you may want to consider what are the, not just the risk or the gamble, but what would be the consequences of moving more into that opportunity, right? So that's how I'm going to wrap up this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. If you made it this far in the video with me, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time. As I always say at this point in the video, in this day and age, with time being what it is and so many options for you to choose as to where you're going to invest and spend your time, I'm so glad that you've chosen to give me some of that time. And I don't take that lightly. So James Himm Mitchell signing off. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in this space for our next Oracle Outlook video reading. And so until then, I'm hoping that you're having a wonderful day, hoping that you're going to have a wonderful week, and take care.